Did you know a fictional K-pop boy band actually beat BTS on the US Spotify charts? In fact, the SAJA Boys tracked your idol hit number 1, while HUNTR/X's Golden landed right behind at number 2. That push was strong enough to drive the KPop Demon Hunters soundtrack into the Billboard 200's top 10. So how does an animated film soundtrack, supposedly just background music, suddenly turn into a global chart phenomenon? We'll break down the production playbook, the fan reaction, and what this could mean for K-pop's future. And it all starts with the strange case of a cartoon boy band topping BTS. The strange case of a fictional band topping BTS. What happened next was something no one expected. A fictional K-pop group climbed past real-world giants on one of the most competitive music charts in the world. The SAJA Boys, born out of the animated film KPop Demon Hunters, hit number 1 on the US Spotify chart with their single Your Idol. Right behind them, the film's fictional girl group HUNTR/X landed at number 2 with Golden. Together, they pushed the soundtrack into the Billboard 200's top 10, an almost unheard of feat for an animated project. That placement wasn't on a niche or novelty chart. It was the same US Spotify ranking where you normally see BTS, Stray Kids, and Blackpink moving in and out of the top slots with tens of millions of daily streams. Suddenly, among those household names, 2 brand new groups that didn't exist in the real world appeared side by side. And news outlets even labeled the SAJA Boys the highest charting male K-pop act in US Spotify history. What makes that so unusual is the contrast between how these groups came to life. BTS, Stray Kids, and Blackpink built their legacies through long-term careers, global tours, and an army of loyal fans around the world. By comparison, the SAJA Boys and HUNTR/X were introduced as fictional characters in a Netflix film, yet their tracks were streamed like established acts. Instead of being treated as soundtrack filler, songs like Your Idol and Golden behaved exactly like mainstream K-pop hits, circulating in gym playlists, study mixes, and recommended song lists without listeners treating them as a novelty. This blending mattered. Once the tracks left the shadow of the movie and entered everyday listening habits, people judged them on equal footing with hits like BTS's Butter or Blackpink's Shut Down. In that sense, the film's music didn't remain tied to its storyline. It transformed into standalone content in a market where credibility usually belongs only to groups backed by major entertainment companies. It also rewrote the conversation around the boundary between fiction and reality in pop music. Fans scrolling through the charts saw the names SAJA Boys and HUNTR/X positioned directly beside real idols they followed for years. The image of animated characters earning a chart history designation usually reserved for flesh-and-blood performers showed just how much the lines were blurring. And it raised a simple but important question: how did songs attached to an animated movie end up sounding authentic enough to climb high against the biggest K-pop groups in the world? The tracks didn't just luck into success. They were designed with purpose, structured so that they could compete in the same ecosystem as the genre's top acts. But it didn't happen by accident, and the reason is the team behind the music. The producers who turned a movie into a music machine. The real engine behind this phenomenon was the production team that built the music as if it were a legitimate K-pop release. The soundtrack brought in top hitmakers with proven success in the industry. Teddy Park, Lindgren, and Jenna Andrews are all credited among the producers, alongside Ian Eisendrath as the executive music producer. Eisendrath himself described the process as the opposite of how musicals usually work. Instead of reshaping pop to fit film scenes, they invited established K-pop songwriters to create tracks that could stand on their own, the kind you'd expect to hear on the radio or see on top of Spotify charts. That decision marked a sharp break from how animated films are usually scored. Normally, film composers map music around character dialogue or action beats, which is why most soundtracks fade from memory once the credits roll. Here, the strategy was reversed. Tracks were structured with the same vocal layering and rhythmic punch as mainstream idol singles, designed to hold up in playlists long after viewers left the theater. The results are easy to hear. HUNTR/X's breakout song Golden is powered by big, arena-scale production, dramatic beat drops, surging hooks, and sharp electronic textures that mirror the energy of top girl group anthems. Meanwhile, the SAJA Boys catalog favors darker, heavier tones that critics compared to the sound of Stray Kids, with fast-paced delivery and aggressive bass lines shaping their identity. These weren't filler tunes for an animated world, they were fully realized K-pop tracks, polished to fit within the genre's current landscape. Just as importantly, the music was handled with the same commercial push as a real release. Republic Records picked up Golden to release as an official single, and Netflix even submitted the track for awards consideration. Moves like that showed this wasn't an experiment or a gimmick. The songs were promoted and distributed through the same channels that Blackpink or BTS would use, giving them a marketplace presence far beyond the film. HUNTR/X was treated like a legitimate idol group in every sense. The characters were given coordinated styling, distinct group colors, and choreography-ready songs. That presentation mirrored how Korean entertainment agencies debut rookie groups, making HUNTR/X feel like more than just animated characters. SAJA Boys, for their part, leaned into cultural motifs, right down to wardrobe rooted in Korean folklore with the black hanbok and wide-brimmed hats tied to Jisung SAJA imagery. The combination of authentic sonics and cultural cues grounded these fictional acts inside a recognizable K-pop ecosystem. The payoff was undeniable. The KPop Demon Hunters soundtrack shot into the Billboard 200's top 10, a rare feat for an animated feature, and coverage noted how it kept climbing, performing more like a mainstream pop album than a background score. That success put the bands in front of audiences who treated the tracks as part of their regular listening habits, not just as content connected to an animated movie. And what happened next was even stranger. People outside the film started acting like these fictional idols were real ones. From screen to stream, how fans made fiction real. The jump from animated movie to real-world playlists happened fast. The soundtrack for KPop Demon Hunters didn't just stream in the background, it sparked massive amounts of fan activity that treated the fictional idols like genuine K-pop groups. Within days of the release, TikTok began filling with dance challenges copying HUNTR/X choreography, YouTube channels uploaded vocal covers of your idol, and social platforms were flooded with fan art, edits, and cosplay. These weren't casual reactions to a film, they were the same kinds of fan behaviors you'd normally see surrounding a real idol comeback. The surge had scale as well. The BBC reported the film racked up more than 33 million Netflix views in just 2 weeks, giving its songs an enormous built-in audience. And according to reporting in news.com.au, some estimates went even higher, citing over 130 million global views and around 1 billion Spotify streams tied to the soundtrack. With that level of exposure, the leap from screen to stream felt less like a fluke and more like a new lane in K-pop fandom. Part of the momentum came from timing. A survey from Zigazoo found that 1 in 4 American kids already listed K-pop as their favorite genre, second only to mainstream pop. That meant Gen Alpha audiences were primed to embrace something that looked and sounded like idol culture, even if the groups were technically fictional. For younger fans, HUNTR/X and SAJA Boys didn't land as characters from a movie, they landed as rookies in the same world as Twice or Stray Kids. That familiarity grew stronger once fans started mapping the characters onto real idols. Coverage pointed out how Rumi's Dragon Braid drew comparisons to Blackpink's Jennie, while Jinu's visuals were called Nam Joo-hyuk and even Astro's Cha Eun-woo. Baby SAJA sparked memes linking him to BTS's Suga, and other parallels tied Zoe to Twice Chaeyoung or Mira to ITZY's Yeji. Fans used those connections as an entry point, the way stans often adopt a bias based on appearance, sound, or aura. The crossover grew so loud that some idols themselves noticed, members of ITZY and 17 even joked online about the comparisons. What really kept the momentum going, though, was the in-film rivalry between HUNTR/X and the SAJA Boys. That storyline slipped easily into how K-pop fans already talk online, who's the bigger group, who would win in head-to-head battles, which fandom is louder. Instead of fading with the film, that dynamic rolled into playlists, debates, and TikTok trends. Fans weren't just streaming songs, they were competing over them, mirroring the real-world energy that pushes groups like Stray Kids and Blackpink up the charts. Even the movie's own details nudged the fiction closer to reality. A background poster featuring Twice tied the animated idols into the same frame as an existing global group. Subtle cues like that gave fans more reason to argue these characters could coexist beside actual idols. Add it together and you see how an animated soundtrack turned into a chart presence, fan-made content, massive exposure, real idol comparisons, and a built-in rivalry that tricked people into treating the music like a debut rollout. And if all that could happen with one film, it leaves us with a bigger question: what happens when fictional idols aren't just a novelty, but part of the same competition as today's biggest K-pop groups? An animated soundtrack, engineered by top K-pop producers and boosted by viral fandom, managed to beat established idols on US Spotify and even land in the Billboard 200's top 10. That outcome wasn't just a quirky side effect of a film, it showed how fictional groups, if handled like real debuts, can compete on the same stage as BTS or Blackpink. Whether this becomes a trend depends on how much studios keep investing, and if fans continue treating animated idols like legitimate acts. Tell me in the comments, was this a one-off stunt or the future of pop? If you've streamed the songs, which one are you replaying? And if you want more deep dives like this, hit subscribe and drop a like.